And we should be streaming. I don't know, can you guys hear me out there in the world here? Broadcasting live from the Kingdom of Bunjie. I am ready to start this live stream. Are you ready? Let's do the intro. We haven't done that intro in a while. We'll play that right now. Playing up that intro. Oop. The intro is not going to work. We'll skip the intro. How about that? We'll skip the intro. We'll come right in here with the video. Come right in here with the webcam. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Hello. I have played around a little bit in here. I've been online and I've been watching the comments, talking to you guys because I got set up here a little bit early, just in time to get this thing started. Hopefully you can hear me just fine. It looks good on my end, loud and clear. Kevin, good to hear from you. Thank you for the feedback here. Carl Albertson, hello to Missouri. Dave Rogers, hello to you. Northwest Ohio Outdoors. Now I wonder where you are located. You are in the great state, the great Crossbow friendly state of Ohio. Next weekend, woohoo, good luck to you out there. We have 2 more weeks, minus 1 day, to start here in Pennsylvania. Our 37 Days of Awesome starts in just under 2 weeks. Can you believe that? Brad Keys, good to hear from you. I've got so many people on here that are joining me. Lever Action, good to hear from you. Crossbow Hunting, now you came to the right place. Crossbow Hunting, here you go. That's right. And Jake G, is that your old string rich? In the picture. In fact, I'll go back to that episode thumbnail. Jake G, thank you very much for pointing that out. What a good eye he has. Check that out. That is the new string and the old string. And I'm going to give you sort of the whole thing here about what we did and what I ended up doing with this crossbow. Just to set it in perspective, you guys remember way back a few weeks ago I went to Maryland, going way back to August. Dry fire during a live stream. How awesome is that? That's just like, you know, nobody wants to sit through that kind of thing, but boy, it's memorable. It sure has made for some fun times at my expense, at Bunjie's expense, having that dry fire take place. Even during that dry fire, you will recall that I went through and I sighted in the crossbow, continued to sight in the crossbow, and it was holding accuracy by the end of that live stream. In fact, later on that same weekend, that same day, and then the following day, I shot the crossbow some more. After that dry fire, checked everything over good, checked all the bolts and screws and nuts and all that stuff, made sure everything was nice and tight, and it was shooting just fine. In fact, I was good 10, 20, and 30 yards, even took 40-yard shots during that weekend, and everything was holding pretty steady. After that, in the middle of August, we go to the meet and greet. Remember the meet and greet where me and several other friends of Bunjie got together and we shot some wild hogs at the Tioga Boer Preserve. That worked just great. It worked fantastically. Got 2 shots off on that, right? We are in the double tap club as a result of that hunting experience and trying to get out of that, trying to get back into the 1 shot, 1 kill category here, right? That's our hashtag that we're trying to get into there. And well, hopefully by the end of the season we'll have that accomplished, right? But it was shooting accurately, even though I might have been picking less than the perfect shots, if that makes any sense. I don't know if I think that makes sense. So the crossbow was doing what I wanted it to do. It was holding accuracy and the arrows were going where I wanted those arrows to go. Fast forward to Maryland, my first deer in Maryland, the shot goes unacceptably high. Like it was not just, you know, a little bit high and you're resting the crossbow on a shooting rail. It was a nice calm shot. I didn't feel pressured at all. It was a nice mature doe. The shot was probably 8 inches higher than where I was aiming, and that's not acceptable. Like something's going wrong with that, right? Then my follow-up shot, it was so high it spined her. Had to take a follow-up shot. That follow-up shot was high as well. And I've talked about that in a previous live stream last week. Go back and watch that. There's video, there's pictures, stuff like that. I don't think there's any video of that one, but there's pictures. The follow-up shot was a little bit high too. Now, not 8 inches, but a few inches. So I went and sighted the crossbow in down there. Long story short, it's all over the place. It was wandering, everything else. I ended up changing the scope out, and it wasn't the scope. I was still having problems. I changed the string, and that appeared to take care of my problems. And then further inspection of the string, remember there was the string stars were all screwed up. That was in that last live stream as well. And hopefully this week, the Maryland videos will start this week. Okay, you'll get notice of that, hopefully, if you're subscribed to Death by Bunjie, which you should be. If you're joining me for this, you're probably subscribed, right? You're getting these notifications or what have you. So that brings us up to speed, though, and this week we should have videos about that. But that brings you up to speed on what's going on with the crossbow, what the problems were. So this weekend was the weekend for me to sit down. I ordered new strings from Excalibur. I showed you those last week. They arrived, got them installed, and I put one new string. I bought 2 new strings so that I can take the old strings out. Just not even going to have them in rotation. I'll keep them around, but I'm not even going to use them in my rotation. I'm going to have a new string and another new string to rotate in and out if need be. And so here we go. So what I did is, well, first of all, obviously, you got to have your Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee, and there you can see my string wax and all that stuff. I got that set up, and we're good to go. So I start out this morning, there's the crossbow, there's Bunjie all shined up, nice and lubed up on the rail, everything else. And you will notice something, if you have a keen eye, perhaps, that the scope was replaced. Do you see that? That is a different scope from what I ended up using in Maryland. Now, this is the original scope. This is the scope that I went to Maryland with. It's my newest scope, the Twilight DLX from Excalibur. I really like this scope. It's a nice scope. And I've gotten familiar with it, comfortable with it. It gives me better low light performance than I had in the past. But I came back from Maryland having changed scopes and installed the Verizon, I think it was, that I had. It was an old scope, and I took that to Maryland with me. I take all my gear with me in a big giant toolbox, and I was fortunate to have it, because if that scope went bad and I had to have a replacement, there it was. So I was pretty happy with that, and I had pretty good performance from it. I was familiar with that old scope, and it worked well for me. So I installed the new DLX, though, on there over the weekend here, and this morning you will also see on there, some of you folks might be somewhat familiar with that. If you look here, you will see on there that is the Tacticam FTS, and I'm going to show you that real quick. I am not sponsored by anybody, including Tacticam, but I really do like their products. This one I'm not sold on. 2 seconds worth. I'm not going to go deviating too much on the topic here, but this thing does a good job. It's a neat idea. It allows me to video through the scope, which is cool. I really like that. But the problem with this little setup is it makes it uncomfortable to sight it in. I don't feel comfortable shooting it this way. I would not hunt with this on there. I'm just not sold on this product for me. It just, it gets the scope a little bit too close to my eye. All of a sudden now I'm starting to feel the recoil and all this. And I don't want to do that. The scope was set up perfect, and I can't even tell whether or not I've got it centered just right when I'm looking through it. But it shot some nice video. I will include that in an upcoming video, perhaps. And it's nice to have that, but it's not something I'm going to use on a regular basis. But that's just me. That is just me. So, sighting it in, I'm going to go back here and show you how we made out. And it really isn't anything too exciting here. I mean, it wasn't too set up in the backyard. We got the 10 at the first target. You see is a 10-yard target. You can see my first arrow had gone about 3-4 inches low. Then my second target out there at 20 yards, you can see that I've got that. I use a 10-yard target for what it's worth. I start at 10 yards just to make sure I'm not going to completely miss the target. So I put my small target in there at 10 yards. And that's just to really get me feeling confident that I'm going to hit the target. And then I really sight in at 20 yards. You're doing your basic sight in there in the center of the scope at 20 yards. And then 30 and 40, that's just gravy for me, right? That's just the extras, and that's what you're looking for to make sure that you are accurate in case you got to take that 30-yard shot. I don't shoot past 30 yards. I've shot past 30 yards one time. I think killed one deer at 35 yards. That's good enough for me. I'm not going to shoot that distance again. I set myself up in advance so that I don't have to take those long shots. The fun of it is, for me, is getting those deer into 10, 15, 20 yards. Love that. Love those shots. Fantastic. So that's really where we're set up for. The other thing about those long distance targets you'll find is that if you're off a little bit at 20, you may not be noticing it because there's a little bit of play in those arrows from shot to shot. But if you're off at 20, it'll really start to show at 30. It'll really start to show at 40, and you'll be able to see that, hey, I'm actually 2 inches wide right on 40 yards, I got to dial it back a little bit at 20. And it'll help you really hone in that accuracy to make sure that you're getting it as tightly accurate as possible, as tightly grouped as possible. And that's just one of the things I do. But anyway, it worked good there. That's what the yard looked like this morning. And incidentally, you ever have that happen to you? Now, that's an interesting one. I'm going to have to get some glue. When I pulled that field point out of the block target there, out of the foam target, boom, look what happened. It pulled the insert right out of the end of it. Let me know in the comments if that is something that has happened to you. Also, let me know what adhesive do I use to glue that back in there. I don't think I'm just going to use super glue or something like that. Is it the same adhesive that I'm using for my fletchings? Will that work? I would almost think it would. But let me know if you have some suggestions as to what sort of adhesive I should be using for that picture where we have that field point where the insert is just pulling right out of the end of the thing. I didn't shoot that one again. Not going to shoot that arrow again until that is fixed because I don't want to go damaging the arrow or injuring myself or anything like that. The rest of the morning, though, to compare strings, the new string is on the Crossbow. The old string, you can see the serving's a little chewed up. And that old string, one thing I noticed about it is that the servings on the replacement string, on the old strings that I had, those servings had been redone over and over and over. And the servings that are replaced are smaller than the servings that came on the original strings. I didn't notice that until now when I get a chance to compare them now. By my third or fourth shot at 30 yards, this one, you don't see that in the other target picture here, but out there by the green barn, I went inside that green barn, got a green target out of there, one of my old targets, and I used the older targets for 30 yards and 40 yards because they are a little bit shot out, but you have less stopping power needed at 30 yards or at 40 yards than you would at 10 or 20. So I have my newest target at 10, my other new target at 20, because they need to really stop those arrows. But when I use that other target, again, we're looking at 30 yards, third or fourth shot, I got it dialed within an inch on my third or fourth shot. Now, so the good news is this, right? This is the whole point of the live stream, is to update you folks. I had been asked earlier by a couple people had asked me over the last week here, how's the Crossbow doing? Is it surviving? Is it going to be around for the new season or what have you? And I've been a little bit nervous about it and haven't had the time to get out there and shoot with it. But I'm happy to report that after a dozen or a little bit more arrows today going through that thing and having to lift the string and reset the string because it keeps creeping and keeps stretching out, that wax is getting squeezed and they're good and all that. But because it's under pressure now for the first time after taking it out of the package. But after a dozen shots, I'm real confident. Like, it is not wandering the way it was in Maryland when I was sighting it in. It was wandering. It was all over the place there that day that I sighted it in until I changed the string. And I think it was those string stars, those leeches that Excalibur provided that I put in there. They were disintegrating, falling apart. And I've talked about all this in the other videos, and I'm not going to beat that drum to death. But I really do think that's what the cause was, because now this thing it's right back to where it was before I ever went to Maryland. It's right back to where it was last year and the year before. And for this is the 10th season I've been hunting with this crossbow. It's just a basic crossbow. It's nothing fancy. And for that reason, yeah, it's going to perform. It's going to do that basic job very well as long as it's healthy. Appears to be. So that's great news, right? We can all cheer, and I'm excited about that. I'm happy about it. I really am, and I don't mean that to be in jest or anything like that. But I'm really happy about that, and the fact that now that I don't need that on my head, on my mind. That it's just a weight on my shoulders when you start worrying about the gear. When you head into the woods, or at least when I do, I have to have absolute confidence that my arrows are going to go where I want them to go. And I've gotten to the point now where I can look at one of my arrows and say, oh, that's the one that shoots this way. This is the one that shoots this way. And I don't shoot all the time. I don't practice all the time with it. But I have enough familiarity because it's always the same gear. It's the same arrows. It's the same crossbow. It's the same yard, the same targets. And when I hunt here in Pennsylvania, it's the same tree stands. It's the same ground blinds. It's the same mock scrapes. When I go to Maryland, it's the same corn pile and the same tree stand, and it's the same. You start to get familiar with this stuff over time. Familiarity is very important, and you can't control that with everything. If I travel to Ohio one of these days, right? If I travel to Canada to hunt, or Florida, that's on my list, or Texas, I'm going to be in new circumstances. I can't control what that hunting scenario is going to be, but what I can control is the gear that I take with me. and my comfort level with it, and my confidence with that gear. And I feel pretty confident now. I feel really good about this. All I need to do now is let that string stretch out a little bit. I'll shoot it a couple of nights this week, shoot it next weekend. We should be dead on. And then I'll just continue to monitor it as that new string settles in. And we should be good to go for the opener here, like October 4th, I think it is. Is that when we open up? In Pennsylvania, the 37 Days of Awesome start on October 5th. October 5th, which would be that Saturday, the first day of the Pennsylvania Crossbow season. So that's going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to that. Let's look at some messages here, some comments, and see what we got going on. I haven't been looking. I've been looking at them. Boy, it's just filling right up, and I haven't had a chance to contact Barry to call out anybody here, like Ryan Outdoorsman. Hello to you in Southern Ohio. And Dean Cerny, good to hear from you once again. Thank you very much for your best wishes about Bunjie. And yes, Bunjie is fine. So that's great news, right? Peter Manns, good to see you here. I'm very glad to have you on this live cast. That's fantastic. Good to hear from you. Charles J. Cobb, hello to North Carolina. Are you guys started up down there? I think you are. You have already started your season, I think. We got some people here from Maryland joining us. We got Wisconsin on the line. Marion, Ohio, hello to you. And hello to Southern Maryland, Ross Lavsa. And we also have Andreas Loomers. Good hello to you. He is contacting us from the other side of the planet, from Germany. I cannot believe that you join us on these live streams. And he is a young man that doesn't have the same opportunities that we enjoy here in the United States for crossbow hunting, for any kind of hunting really, but especially the crossbow hunting. So he is joining us, and hopefully we can put down a deer or two to your satisfaction, and it will help you. It'll brighten your day in Germany. So I really hope that is going well for you. BS in Georgia. Hey, Rich, awesome inspiration and flow of information. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. And I'm glad that you are joining us today on this. Hopefully you'll get something out of this as well. We have Carl Albertson started up September 15th. Well, good for you. That's fantastic. You are a week or more now. You're a week into your season. That's good. Have you had any success, or are you seeing deer? How is that working for you? Destry Newsom, hello to you too from down in Suffolk, Virginia. That's awesome. We've got people from Michigan, Ontario, Canada. Man, we got people from all over the place. And even right here in my home Commonwealth, my home state, Union County, Pennsylvania. Eric Steenstra, good to hear from you. Yes, and Andres Loomers, yes, Bunjie made it through, as we've been discussing here. Everything is hunky-dory. Could not be happier. I really feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders today, because that's been weighing on my mind since I got back from Maryland. You don't want to go back to a situation where some of the shots are going high, some of the shots are going low, some of the shots are holding on, every third shot's bad or whatever the deal is. Those kinds of things, there's something wrong with a crossbow. And it's happened to me once before back in the day. This is the second time I've been in Maryland, by the way, where I've changed a string. The last time that I changed a string, I really didn't need to change it, I don't think. Actually, what the problem was one of the limbs was loose, and I hadn't ratcheted down that limb. And once I did that, it was holding steady. Everything's perfect, right? But it was a little bit of a problem. So you got to watch that stuff. You really got to stay on top of this stuff. And I am not perfect with it. I've done something right, because I'm still hunting with the same crossbow now, and this is the 10th hunting season that we have now embarked on. We have killed deer and one wild boar during our 10th hunting season together. So I think that's awesome, right? You can't ask for more than that, in my opinion. If you can get that kind of hunting reward out of a crossbow, I think you're doing something right. I'm pretty happy with it. So, and it would sadden me greatly if that were to change, if something happened where I couldn't do this long term with the same crossbow. Hello to Luzerne County. Wow, that's down Wilkes-Barre. We got somebody from that neck of the woods down here. That's my neck of the woods almost. We have, the 8th of probably October, we're starting elk hunting in Colorado, outdoors online. That's awesome. I wish you the absolute best with the old elk out there in Colorado. I have relatives out there. I should visit them for elk hunting someday, right? Hunting has been commencing now for a couple of weeks down in Georgia. Georgia's one of those states that's got some interesting bag limits too. I would really like to hunt in Georgia someday. I'm wondering about the heat and stuff like that, but boy, I'll tell you, I'm getting so I kind of prefer hunting in heat, even though I'm kind of an old fat guy that sweats an awful lot. I'd rather hunt in heat, I think, than the real cold. The older I get, the less I like cold. Last winter was a little bit tough on me. I've hunted down to 5 below zero before, and I don't see any reason why the Crossbow wouldn't perform at that temperature. But I really, man, if that can be avoided, maybe that's best to be avoided. I don't know. Ryan Outdoorsman, have you ever used a ghillie suit for hunting them deer? I, in fact, have used one. I have not shot a deer wearing a ghillie suit, but I have a ghillie suit. I have used it. Last year was the first year I used it pretty seriously, and I can't say, I mean, I had one deer come out. I'm not real good at tucking myself back in there. I got to get the ghillie suit is the good way to start the process, but you still need to tuck yourself in with some breakup behind you and maybe in front of you, I think, the way I look at it. It isn't enough to simply put that on and go sit on the edge of the field. You've got to tuck yourself back up in that autumn olive, or tuck yourself back in that multiflora rose, or some kind of briars or trees or bushes or whatever it is, to make yourself blend in a little bit better. And the ghillie suit, I think about ghillie suits too, I think different ones work better for different scenarios. The one I have, would work good for the field edges, I think, color-wise. But they make some that are more tan, more brownish, and those might work better for those swampy areas with all the tall, dead grass. I don't know. So if you have any suggestions for me, Ryan, that you want to send my way on ghillie suits, I will be all ears. Casey Bayer, do you sell Death by Bunjie merchandise? Would love some stickers. Your show and your videos keep up the great job. Well, thank you very much for the compliments. I do have deathbybungie.com. I revamped it. I have a new website going with that. It is going to feature the store here in the next week or so. I should have that up and running. And on the Facebook page and on YouTube, you will hear more information about that. I will keep you posted on that. And hopefully we will have those stickers up there for sale within the next week or so. That's the plan. Hello from Southern. You're not the only person who's asked. That's the reason I'm doing it. I'm not trying to make a plug here to sell stuff, but people ask me for that kind of stuff, and that's how it is. So I had little problems with the T-shirts. YouTube had a really nice setup with this company called Teespring, and it was awful. The products that I got from them were unsatisfactory to me. They were not as good as the ones that I've had made. This T-shirt right here, a Yankee Militia T-shirt, for example, I had these made for my band. Yankee Militia is my band, and it's just me, but it's my band. And so I've had these T-shirts made, and I like those, right? And then I get these ones from Teespring. It's just like they're junk T-shirts compared to what I had from what I wanted, what I expected. I had really high expectations. I don't want to put the Death by Bunjie name on just anything, right? We want it on some good stuff. So we got Carl Albertson restoring a bear devastator. How cool is that? If that's a bear archery crossbow, is that what we're talking about here? And I think that's Fred Bear. Am I right on that? I think that he is the one that founded that company there. Those crossbows, in fact, they might make both recurve and compound crossbows, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not familiar with the Devastator, but that came up in a book that I was reading here recently, or a podcast or something. I think that's pretty cool. Raymond Cavanaugh, great job, Rich. Does the dry fire video exist anywhere? What is it called? I've done the same thing twice on my Vortex Excalibur. Oh, I got you. Greetings from Elliott Lake, Ontario, Canada. Keep up the great work. Well, keep up the great work to you, too, up there hunting in Canada. I hope you're having good successes up there. That dry fire video would be under the live streams. It would be under the playlist for sighting in videos. If you look at the most recent videos from Death by Bunjie, you should be able to find it there as well. If you cannot, then leave me a comment on an upcoming video and I will post it for you. And maybe what I'll do is I'll make a note for it, okay? What I will do, I am going to make a note right here so that we can post that. Wants live stream dry fire video. Boy, if that becomes my most requested video, I really got something going wrong here. That's the legacy of Death by Bunjie will be, he's the guy that dry fired his crossbow on a live stream, right? That's him, that guy. That's probably where we'll get to, Doug Gilpin, could be because you dry fired it. Yeah, it could be. I was concerned about that. Yeah, if you dry fire the crossbow, things can go wrong. This would be the third lifetime dry fire, so it's good for a dry fire about it once every 3 years, I guess, by my standards. But yeah, that is a concern that I had. You're not the only one thinking that maybe could be that certainly could be one of the problems that I'm having with the crossbow, and for that reason, I was a little bit concerned about it. But now I'm not so much worried about it because once I replace the string, I've honestly, it's right back to where it was. It's holding steady every shot. So, David Grillo, did you change the mount for the Bunjie cam? No, I did not. Well, yes and no. Not recently. Last year and years before. No, last year was the first year I started hunting with a Tacticam, and I have that. The Bunjie cam is this little guy. I think it's in this bag of goodies here, and that camera is this camera. That's the strap for the little on-off switch, but it's a Tacticam 5.0 is what I got there, and I attach it to the crossbow with this. I don't use the GoPro for this purpose anymore. Phasing out of the GoPros. It's kind of sad. I really like the GoPros, and I've got tons of footage I've shot with them. Really done some great stuff with those. I really like them. But this is going to be that and that right there. That is what's going to happen. So that's what we're going to be doing. So there we go. Got people from Farmington, West Farmington, Ohio. Good to hear from them about you. Want to hear about that FTS ASAP. It depends on what you want, lever action. The FTS, that's this little guy right here, and I can show you that. I'll open it up and show it to you. Since we're chatting here, and since that seems to be a preferred topic, people do like the Tacticam stuff, and that makes me happy, to be honest with you. If you want to film your own hunts, this is the place to start. Okay, get a video camera if you want to talk on it, something like that. But if you want action shots, you want kill shots, you're going to need, this is the easiest way to do it, because with your crossbow, you can point it right. It's going to be pointing wherever you're pointing a crossbow. It's going to give you some usable footage, classic footage, real good footage. You can set up to 120 frames per second. You can set it for 4K. The older models don't do all that fancy options and stuff, but they still do a great job, and the concept is solid. It is what you're looking for if you want to get into filming your own hunts, and start with that. Really, it's about telling a story. So you're going to need a video camera, but you can tell the story with your phone. You can take pictures and shoot video of what's going on around you with your phone. You can do an interview with your phone, flip it right around here, talking to your phone. Everybody's got a phone. Use that for telling the story, mix that footage with this, and you got yourself a really good start to it. Now, I got the DSLR camera, I got the fancy microphones, all that kind of stuff, because that's what I like. I really like this kind of stuff. But you don't need to start there, okay? The FTS is this little thing from Tacticam, and what it does is essentially you're going to take your Tacticam and you're going to plug it in there, and you're going to screw that tight, right? Screw that in there, and then this mounts on your scope. And what it does is it's taking the Tacticam and it's pointing that Tacticam in on this side, and then the mirrors push it around, so it's filming through your scope. It's actually going to take footage with a Tacticam, shooting around these mirrors and then out through the scope. And it will give you a picture of whatever your scope's looking at. It's going to have a nice little round circle. The downside of it is this little contraption on the back of your scope, you're looking through that, right? And it's adding an inch or two, inch and a half, something, to the length of your scope. So it's moving that eyepiece closer to you. Not really. I mean, the scope stays in the same spot, but this eyepiece for this device is closer to you than your scope would be. And so it's uncomfortable. And it's different from the way I'm going to be hunting. So I didn't like it for that reason. I just felt uncomfortable with it. It gave me decent footage. I mean, it's nice to have. And I'm glad I did it, because it'll help me tell the story of sighting in the crossbow on today's date when I do that video. But it's the problem is it's a little bit closer. And it's, with my scope, I have long arms. I've got an extension on my stock, and I've been shooting this crossbow for a long time, right? This is the 10th season. So you tired of hearing about that yet? The fact that it's the 10th season? Are you tired of that yet? Probably by the end of the season you will be, right? But I had it set on there, and it's like my scope, I've got it set up to right where I want it, so that when I look through it, there's no perfect relief, it's the perfect everything. There's no black oblong circles or anything like that. And when I put that on there, all of a sudden that eyepiece is closer, and it's just different, and I don't like it. So I'm not going to hunt with it anymore, but that's the way it is. So there. That's all that is. It's not anything against the company. It's a great idea. I really do believe that. I do think it's a great idea for a product. I think as far as that product is concerned, they did a great job putting it together, and I have no complaints about it whatsoever. I'm glad I have it. I probably will attach it again in the future to shoot videos with it, but I'm not going to hunt with it or anything like that. If it doesn't have a camera in it, understand too, this is not a camera. It's a set of mirrors that helps you attach one of their cameras to the scope. So if you buy one of these items and hook it up alongside the Picatinny rail under the scope, shooting down, it's really doing the same thing, right? Except it doesn't have the reticles in the screen. And if you want to add reticles later on, I suppose you could do that. You could pretend that this is your scope if you wanted to later on down the road, but whatever. I don't think you need to. To me, it's nice to have. I'm glad I had it. I've experimented with it, and I'm not. But I'm not going to long term. I'm not going to be doing that. But that's my 2 cents. It might be something that everybody else really prefers. So there you go. I hope that helps. Lever action. Brian Blackwell, I do not have stock in Dunkin' Donuts, but boy, I could go for some Dunkin' Donuts right now. I have Kool-Aid with me, but Kool-Aid in the evenings, right? That's what we do. Daniel Garcia looking to buy the Tacticam, the Solo Hunter. The Tacticam Solo, that's another one of their models. Really good stuff. That's good stuff. I like those things. You know, nothing wrong with those at all. They have a lot of different models. Some of them are cheaper, some are more expensive. They aren't, you know, they're worth the money, I can tell you that. Whatever features you want to pay for, you will be happy with what you get. You saw our meet and greet footage. We had a couple of other hunters there at the meet and greet this year using Tacticams, and it was great footage. It helped us tell a story. We were able to share that with people. It worked out great. What more do you want? It was really just awesome, I thought. I really thought it turned out nice. Waterlogged in Wisconsin. I hope that's going well, Moose Junction Hunter. I hope that's going well up there. Hello to Buffalo, New York from Fish Hunt Trapper Outdoors. Hello to Buffalo, New York. We've got people talking about the old Tacticams. Jake G. Rich, what are you using to help silence your shot, and have you ever used buck bomb? Just trying out this season. The silencing on the shots, I still do have the red system. I've got the rubber fingers on the ends of the limbs and all that stuff. But I've got stuff still installed, but I'm not using the RAV system at the end of the limbs anymore, those pads that go in the corners. I'm not using the string leeches, any of that stuff anymore. Those things have blown off of there and caused more problems. Although they made a difference in the volume, and they made a difference in the overall tone of shooting the crossbow, and they reduced the vibration, and I do notice them and I do miss them. But it is what it is. I'm not going to... You can't have all that stuff on here. And I should have gained a few feet per second, I bet. I should get the chronograph out and fire that, I think, is what I should do there and see how we're doing. But... Okay, George Loro and Dan Fofi seem to both be telling me that hot glue is the way to go with that for the reinstalling the inserts in my carbon arrows. We'll have to look into that. Okay, Dave Rogers, it has happened to, and you can use the St. Louis use for your fletching. I'm betting he meant the same glue that you use for fletching. I'm betting that's an autocorrect. Autocorrect is just awesome, isn't it? This stuff that we're, what it changes stuff to. The St. Louis, I think he means same glue. I'm betting that's what he's referring to. So that's probably where we're at. Where are we here? I think I lost my place here. Holy cow, there's a lot more. Oh, man, I thought it was down toward the bottom of the comments. There's a gazillion comments here. I am way behind you guys. I'm really sorry about that. Well, let's whip through these. Wow, I'm terrible. Dean Cerny, I practice at 50 to 60 and never take shots past 35 yards on animals. You and me both. Those distances at practice make it easy to make 35-yard shots when the... Yeah, I totally agree with that. If you're comfortable at 50 or 60 taking shots in practice, it's going to make a 30-yard shot or a 25-yard shot or a 20-yard shot more comfortable when you are in the real deal, when it's really happening out there. Dean Cerny, use a 2-part epoxy on the insert. That's in. Okay, I can get that. They got that stuff local here, too. I can get that stuff. Easton makes an epoxy and has never failed me. Scott Eddington. Easton also makes my arrows, so I should look at that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that information. Brian Blackwell, I learned a valuable lesson. Don't reach for your grip too fast. I hit a broadhead in my quiver and cut my finger. You and me both. That has happened to me, and I got to tell you, since I've been sighting in the crossbow and stuff, taking broadheads out, putting broadheads back in, broadheads out, putting broadheads back in, taking them out, putting the field points in, and then putting them on the armchair, and then coming back and putting them back in there to save them. Because I like to keep the mechanical broadheads in the quiver in an arrow, because that's the way to keep them safe, right? They're not going to get dulled that way. I'm not going to throw them in a tackle box or throw them in a little box or anything like that. Field points, you just throw in a little tackle box. They got a little tackle box for that. But those mechanicals, man, I'm telling you, I've got my fingers are all cut up. My fingertips, both fingers, both hands, and my thumb here. It's like little pieces of finger missing just from dealing with those broadheads, just from taking them on and putting them off. A little bit here and there, a little bit here and there. We got some great people here. Boy, I really appreciate all you guys getting on here. Hello, Daniel Garcia. If I didn't say hello before, hello down there in Texas. Good to hear from you. I see a lot of people that I've seen before and some folks that names I don't recognize. We got people from Illinois, Idaho, Columbia, Tennessee. We've got Michigan, of course. We got Michigan is James Martin is starting in 8 days, too. That's good to hear. Very good. Kevin, familiarity is a good thing, but that goes back to your idea on shooting habits and patterns. Be careful you don't go on autopilot and forget something important. You know, I thought about that today, too. That's a constant thing. We got to constantly be vigilant, constantly be evaluating and thinking about what we do when we're doing this stuff. It's just like anything else in life. There's nothing special about crossbows, but when I was sighting that crossbow in again today, same deal. I go through the cocking, cock the crossbow. First, it's on. You got to put it on fire on mine. Cock the crossbow, put it on safe. Take the rope off. Rope in left pocket. And I would note that Jimmy Dickens, one of our YouTube friends of Bunjie here, Jimmy Dickens has indicated to me that he also keeps his cocking rope in his left front pocket. Just as a habit, just because I do it that way, and he thought it was interesting, he also does it that way. But it doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you're familiar with that. But you can't go on autopilot, like you said, and you got to be able to make sure that you're not missing those steps, right? And be thinking about that. So I was thinking about that today, too. Yep. Man, it's great to see you folks on here. I just think that's awesome. Well, Huntwise JDR, a super chat. Thank you, sir. I certainly appreciate your interest in this stuff and your support of this channel. That's fantastic. Thank you very much. Andrew Finley, do you give your new string time to stretch before sighting in, or do you account for stretch at all? Yeah, I do. Both. It stretched this morning after I put it on, and my back is worn out because probably 4 times I had to tighten up the string. At least 4 times. And that is, on my crossbow, I use a stringer for that. And I bought a new stringer, too, just the other one was getting pretty chewed up, and I wanted the newer model, and it doesn't make much difference. The newer model isn't much different, but you got to basically pull those limbs, full 175-pound draw weight. There's no reduction because of the pulleys on the hooks for the cocking rope, right? And so I cock it, and with that, and then tighten that string, and then fire it and let it down and all that. And it stretched this morning. It actually stretched this morning. And I had to tighten it 4 times, at least 4 times. And I will do that again throughout the week. And I bet probably even into the beginning of the crossbow season here in Pennsylvania, I'll still be tightening that a little bit. A twist here, twist there. And then you just sight it in. It's going to be real close. If I have to tighten it a little bit, it maintains its accuracy. It will stay real close. But yeah, you got to keep an eye on that. So you just keep an eye. Keep an eye on where your brace height is, right? It's got marks on the rail for me. And if it doesn't have marks on your crossbow, maybe put a little mark on here on the side with a marker or something like that you can come back to, and just so you can look at it from time to time and see what your brace height is. Or you can measure your brace height. And don't write your marker on the rail, right on the side of the rail, sort of pointing up, maybe like a little arrow, maybe pointing a little line, pointing up at your string, something like that. But yeah, that's something to take into account. That is certainly an issue and not a a bad thing to bring up here, and a very good point, Andrew Finley. Thank you very much. Yep. Wow. I used to live in South Carolina and took 70 deer one year. The only problem is they're 100-pound deer. There is a big deer. It was a nice full freezer, though. I will bet that is a lot of deer. I would be very tired out of hunting. I don't think I've ever taken 70 deer total. In fact, I'm sure I've not taken 70 deer total in my life. Isn't that funny? Dean Cerny, the trick with ghillie suits is you have to get it dirty, nasty, stinky, and covered in local leaves, grasses, smells, etc. And Dean, I will go a step further and tell you that that's not very hard to do. Those things, one thing about my ghillie suit is that I bring it home and it's got branches in it and everything else. I'm like, I can't imagine what's living in that thing. I run it through an ozonics machine to kill the scent and all that sort of thing, but it does tend to pick up just about everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's carrying me around. But yeah, I know what you mean. Those are a good idea. Anja Rabideau, Rich, your music is awesome. It complements your videos perfectly. Well, thank you very much. You know, if you want to talk about music real quick, I love heavy metal and thrash and all that other good stuff. In fact, I got pictures right here. My daughter and I went to a concert last night, some old 80s rock bands up there, and we went and we had a great time up there. And here's a selfie of that Genevieve doesn't even know she was in, and she's taking a picture of the sign. And then I had her turn around and we got a picture of that. So how's that, right? But that's the kind of music that I am into. But the music that I make for the Yankee Militia stuff, right? The Yankee Militia stuff. The reason I do that I was hoping that it would complement the music. The music would complement these videos a little bit better. It's more hunting related music than your party rock would be or anything like that. So hopefully. So I really appreciate that. Thank you very much, Ms. Rabideau. I really do appreciate that. I really do. Lever Action, thank you very much. Have a Dunkin' Donuts coffee on me. I shall do that. In fact, tomorrow will be a good day for that, you guys. Thank you very much for supporting the channel with these super chats. I don't want people to feel obligated whatsoever to do that. I've mentioned that before. And I don't want you to feel obligated to check out the Death by Bunjie online store when that gets up and running, but it's there if you want it. But I do really appreciate your support by coming on here and watching this stuff. That's what I really like to see. It's great to have all these comments, and I really feel bad that I'm not keeping up with them. Ugh. Will I be buying? Michael Emerson, here's a great question. Would you consider buying the anti-dry fire that Excalibur sells? Hello from Ontario. Well, hello to Ontario, and yes, I will consider buying that. Not this year. I got enough going on with this, and next year we'll worry about that, right? But it is something down the road that I think I should look into. Big Jim 7, have I tried the FTS yet? Yes, I used that today, and it does its job. It does its job. That's what I will say. But if you want to go back and look, by the time I'm probably, you've already seen it probably, but I put that in here earlier. I did talk about that and how it worked for me. So, wow, there's just so many comments on here. Does the adapter affect parallax at all? ES Rask asks, does the adapter, I'm thinking he's talking about the FTS, and it kind of, if it's installed properly, not really, except for the fact that you can't get your eye to where you might be comfortable with your eye. That's the only difference, but I don't really think it affects that. I don't think it affects your parallax. And if it's installed properly, it's going to be seamless that way. It's not exactly what I would do when I'm hunting. You know what I mean? It's not that I don't want to go hunting with it. Yeah. J Davy 12436, Kool-Aid Sugar Death. No, there is no. This is sugar-free Kool-Aid. I don't need to drink calories. I get enough calories without drinking them. That's for sure. I totally get you there on that one though. Yep. Thumbs McGee, do you use Rage Hypodermic practice tips, and how are they according to or compared to the real tips? I do not use them. I don't use practice points. They don't look the same, so I'm thinking they probably don't shoot the same. While I was in Maryland, I actually weighed them, and they didn't weigh the same. I can't remember if they were slightly heavier or slightly lighter. I think they were slightly lighter than the other ones. Not enough to really make much difference, but they were consistently of a different weight than the actual broadhead. So I'm not a big fan of practice tips. That's really a subject of a video that I've had. My thoughts on it started on that. I just never shot the video. The day will come when we do that. Okay. So, but I don't use the practice tips. I'm not saying not to. I just don't use them. I have enough used broadheads of the exact same make and model, the Rage Crossbow Hypodermic that I prefer, that I like, that Bunjie likes. And I just use those. I use the used broadheads. I clean them up real good, close them up, ratchet them down tight, make sure my fingers get eaten up nice on them, you know, lose more skin off my fingers. But I ratchet them down tight so that they're less likely to open, or, you know, they're going to open anyway. But on a foam target, they really don't open all that much, and that shouldn't concern you. If other people asked about that too. But I ratchet them down real tight, and I shoot those, and there it goes. That's what I do. Yep. Jennifer Robinson brings up a great point here. Crossbows are loud. It is a fact of life. Indeed, it is. They're not the quiet things that you might get from compound bows. I'm going to make a note of that because I'm doing a video down the road about what compound users can expect when they make the transition to crossbows. Don't be expecting it to be as quiet as your compound bow. Man, we got all kinds of people here. The hunt is on outdoors. Missed a doe at 25 yards. Does grain affect anything? Won't affect anything at 20. You get like 25 grain difference. It shouldn't make much difference. 50, even a 50 grain difference if you're going from 100 grain to 150 grain broadhead. It'll make a difference, sure, but not enough difference. I don't think that's going to be the difference between taking that deer home or not. That probably is not the issue. Another score for the Tacticam here, or any kind of filming of your own hunts, they can be misleading, right? The angles don't always line up, and it doesn't tell the whole story. I understand that, but you would be surprised. I was always surprised at how valuable this is for recovering deer. Looking back at your shots, if I've got any questions about it, I go and I look at the footage before I go to recover the deer. I will make the decision about whether to go after that deer or wait based on the footage before I will make that decision based on anything else. The footage that tells me everything. I love that stuff. Mark Borchert, hello to you, sir. Good to hear from you. Mark is our friend down in the Pocono regions of Pennsylvania now. He is a Pennsylvania person just like me. And hello to you. And yes, our 37 Days of Awesome does start pretty soon, October 5th. Can't believe it. How close is that? That's right around the corner. 2 weeks, 13 days away. 13 days away. Philip Lang, I've never seen you use grunt calls or rattle antlers during pre-rut. Do you try this much? I do. It depends on my old, what the strategy is for that time of year. But I last year spent a whole bunch of time. We got all kinds of business here in town. People zooming by here. I do enjoy the use of a decoy. I really do like that, and I will frequently use the rattling and grunts with that. It's just such a small window. You don't see me doing an awful lot because it's like one small part of the hunting per year. Maryland, I go down here for the early crossbow season, and then I start the hunting here and try and get my does out of the way, and then I just hunt the bucks. And by the time the rut comes around and the pre-rut there, you get in the middle of October. It's like, it's the second half of the season for us here in Pennsylvania, and so that's what it is. Tenzig, when will Yankee Militia record their next album? Probably in the spring. I have a whole bunch of songs written, and we will see if I can put something together so that the next year of Death by Bunjie will have new music to accompany it. That would be pretty cool, I think. Bill Kerb, his first year crossbow hunting, really my first year hunting for deer. Learned a lot from you so far. Well, I hope that's the case. That's fantastic. I'm glad to hear it. Great job to me, but a great job to you for getting into this business, and I hope it works out for you. I really do. Please keep me posted on your successes and failures for what that's worth. I mean, it's going to be a journey, that's for sure. Get out there and have a good plan. Have a good plan of what you're going to do with that first deer, who's going to be processing that, and how you're going to get it done. You don't feel like you got to do everything yourself. That's the best advice I can give you. Have a plan for, I now know how to gut the deer. I'm going to take my time and do it. Have lights available because it's probably going to be dark when you're doing it. But have a plan as to where to strap that deer into the back of the truck or whatever you're going to do, you know, and how you're going to get that to a processor and have them process it for you so you can really enjoy the meat from that deer. If you enjoy that venison, you will come back for more. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's the biggest thing I can tell you is have a plan so that you can enjoy the entire process. And don't rush it. Don't rush it. Don't rush your shots. Don't rush processing the deer. Don't rush any of that stuff. Just enjoy every step of it and progress slowly. Just savor it every step of the way. That's what you do with this stuff. That's the best advice I can give you. Mark Borcher, can you do a little whistling? Love it in your music. On cue, I don't know about that. I'm not sure what I would whistle. You've asked me that before. I feel bad because I never do that, but I will start the next one. That's what we're going to do. I will start the next live stream whistling, okay? So, how's that? We'll do that because he's asked me that before. He likes the music. And what more do you want, right? Mark and I go way back. He's got to be he's probably one of the oldest friends of Bunjie in terms of the YouTube channel. He's been around as long as anybody, that's for sure. We've been going back and forth. We've had some great talks about propagating various types of trees and shrubs and bushes and berries and all that good stuff too. And he is the person who is helping me make sure that 100-year-old apple tree lives forever. That is him. So Mark, thank you very much, and I will do my best on the next one there to do that. We'll start out first so that I'm not all dried out and unable to whistle. How's that? Okay, I'm going to read these. Man, we just have so many comments. We're actually getting somewhere on here. I'm going to have to skip some. I really feel bad. We've got people. Russell Scara, Old Grumpy Hunter is still here by a broadhead wrench. Or gloves. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. I do have broadhead wrenches, actually. But you know, it's just, you're right there. You want to take the broadhead off. Just grab it and take it off, right? I mean, who's got time to go get a wrench? Robert Peck, hello to you. Great to hear from you. He's back. I like the background. It's a pleasant setting. Check the DJI Mobility Osmo 3. Boy, you're into that stuff. I'm telling you. You and I, we go back and forth on cameras. He has a background in photography and really appreciates this video stuff too. DJI is a company that makes my drone, for example, right? I have the DJI Mavic Air, I believe it is. Does a great job. Can't wait to share some of the drone footage from Maryland with you this week, hopefully, if I can get editing done. I've got the computer all spiffed up here. I had to do some maintenance on that, so we should be able to do it. So Robert Peck, yes, I will check that out. The Mobility Osmo 3. I'm making a note of that too. DJI. I think that is a gimbal, is what he's talking about, but I will check that out. Big Jim 7, which model Raven Crossbow did you try? Was it the 26? I have no idea. It was the smallest of them, the compact model. And it was very impressive. Very impressive. There's no question about that. But all the weight, the handles, I'm not kidding, were like, I'll get that where the camera is, but the handles were like this far apart. So I'm holding this crossbow and all the weight, it only weighed like 7 or 8 pounds, but all the weight was right here. It really was weird. I mean, it would be shooting like this. This would be me shooting it, right? Like this. Like it was like a toy, but it's not a toy. I mean, it was just a really serious piece of business, but boy, it was kind of small. So that's what it was. If Bunjie expired tonight, what bow would you like to try? David Tomko. I get that question quite frequently, and I will tell you that I probably would be looking at, I would try some Ravens, and then I would try some of the other. I'm not sure if I can make the micro series from Excalibur work for me, but I really like the idea of a smaller one that I can get around in a blind a little bit for. I'm very interested in the takedown models from Excalibur because it seems like I could take those apart and fly to Texas and shoot a big buck, right? So that's one. But I would look at other models as well. I'm not beholden by any stretch of the imagination to Excalibur. I got lucky, I believe, with a model that has just suited me well. It's, you know, I've done a little bit to it here and there, and it was cheap, and it's still getting it done, still knocking them down. So what more do you want, right? So there it is. The hunt is on outdoors. Yeah, Rich, I found the arrow. Now I did hit. I'll send a pic on the group page I found doe. Well, I hope that means we're chasing or tracking a deer, and if you're going to post that on our group page, I will check that out tonight and see if I can help you out. And I'm sure there will be other folks on there watching that can help you out as well. Hello, Andrew Whitaker. Good to hear from you. Certainly don't need to apologize. It's great to hear from you, though. That's fantastic. We've got Andrew Finley. We've got Jennifer Robinson. I've been talking about her here. She had some posts here earlier. That's great. We've got other people here. David Stonkus is here. He shot Bambi's mom, and she was delicious. You did too? I thought I did. Which, wait a minute. You sure you did? Because I was thinking I did, actually. There you go. Lever action. I saw beef at $29 a pound in a Walmart this week. I'll take venison any day. Tell me about it. I don't buy, because last few years especially, we've shot enough deer where I don't have to buy, and I might buy beef once a year. I might stop and buy some steaks or something like that. But I buy almost no hamburger, almost no beef. I won't be buying pork because we got the boar that we shot and all that. I mean, I'm stocked up on meat. But boy, you go look at the prices of that stuff. I wouldn't say that you would, and I had this conversation with a guy at work, I wouldn't say you'd step into hunting to save money, because it's pretty expensive to get into it. But I'm not sure I'm losing a whole bunch, to be honest with you. I mean, this is an expensive enterprise, an expensive pastime, but it's, the prices are the price, and you're talking about what you're spending up at Walmart, and Walmart's where you're going to get the best deal, So yeah, you're onto something. So. Jeremy Russell, you have a radio voice. That's interesting. Well, thank you for that. If you're talking about me, I was on the radio actually in college. I actually do have an FCC license. I was on a radio before I went to law school years and years ago. I was on the radio a little bit, so I do have some experience in that as well. Yeah, Russell Scare, a very good point. I wish my deer was only $29 a pound. You know what I mean? When you add it up, the price is there, but I'm not so sure when you start adding it up. Yeah, that's, there's some cost there, that's for sure. Mark Borcher brings up a good point. Where is Professor Kent? I love him. Yeah, he usually has some good quips here. You're right. I missed that as well. I don't know why he hasn't joined us, but maybe he's hunting. That could be. Lever action, loves the drone idea. I have given thought to it for recovery. If it's legal to use that for recovery, especially during daylight, I got to thinking, down in Maryland, you shoot a deer, runs out in the middle of a soybean field that's 20 acres or 30 acres of soybeans. It's going to be hard to find a deer in that. But with a drone, you could find it easily. In fact, one of the pieces of drone footage has a deer in it from Maryland. You're going to like that lever action. You wait to see it. So we will see that. Yeah, don't be offended, lever action, about the raven stuff. I certainly would look at a raven. Those things, stay away from the wheels, Rich. Yeah, I'm not saying I would. I went to Maryland, changed my scope and my string, came home, changed my string. I like the idea of a recurve. I really do. If I had to go find a shop, it would have taken more than a morning to fix my crossbow in Maryland, but I was able to fix it. And so I'm thinking the recurves are for me. That's just the way it is. But those ravens are pretty impressive little things. Want to try the Excalibur 340 axe, Dan Fofi. That one is on my short list too. If I were to look at another crossbow, I'm thinking that axe series. I mean, I get the sense that the axe is the new version of the Axiom. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? I use an Axiom, and I'm thinking the axe is just a new version of that. So maybe that's what it is. Yeah. So there we go. The Raven R15 got that for the 60th birthday. George Laurel, well, good for you. Happy birthday, and I hope that crossbow's suiting you just right. They are a neat little piece of equipment, and I really am impressed with that company for pushing crossbows forward. I don't like the advertising gimmick of saying this is your new rifle, because I really think we need to get that out of people's heads. That is hurting crossbow hunting. And I'm not talking about public image or public perception of crossbow hunting. I'm talking about the people who get into crossbow hunting and think they're going to shoot deer at 100 yards, you're going to be disappointed more than you're going to be proud of yourself. So that's what I'm getting at. So kind of get away from that rifle idea. Remember, this is archery stuff, right? And there's no reason why you can't enjoy a raven and shoot a deer at 30 yards. I don't know why you can't do that. That's the right way to do it, right? Go out there and have a good time. Dean Cerny, Texas deer aren't really big. They're small body deer with decent antlers, whereas up here we have big body deer with big racks. I like all kinds. But I do like, and you got a good point though, the farther south you go, your body size gets a little smaller. I have noticed a size difference between the deer. Even the big old nannies down in Maryland are not the same body size that we have here in northeastern Pennsylvania, but it's 5 hours apart, right? But they're 5 hours south of us. So it changes things. That's all. It's the way it is. Wow, look at all the people. I can't believe you folks are getting on here and taking part in this. I really do appreciate you guys and your support of this channel and your support of me and getting on here and watching this stuff. I really do appreciate it. Scott C., good point. It is only as expensive as you make it. I would hate for the cost to discourage new hunters. I bought my first Bunjie on Craigslist and killed 2 8-pointers the first year. Similarly, my first crossbow, Bunjie here, the only crossbow I've ever owned, $586. Brand new with the quiver and 6 arrows, and I think I brought the broadheads with it. I think it even came with broadheads or at least field points. But but here's the thing: $586 is nothing to sneeze at. That's a lot of money to lay out. Now it's $2,000 for some of these crossbows. But you put that money in. I've used that for 10 years. That crossbow, same crossbow. And I bought a scope, then I bought another scope, and I have upgraded a thing or two here and there. But this year now, when I see a sale on broadheads, I go snatch up $50, $100 worth of broadheads, and I just bought a whole bunch of Rage crossbow hypodermics because I'm confident I'm going to keep using those for a while. I got probably 5 or 6 unopened packages of them ready to go and ready to cut my fingertips up, right? But I have them ready, but I don't feel bad about spending that $100. It's a lot of money, but I didn't spend $1,500 this year on a new crossbow. So I've saved, over time. You're right. It's only as expensive as you make it. That's how it is. Lever action. Hey, Rich, that Bunjie has a lifetime warranty. Why would you need another bow? They can't replace it, so they will upgrade it. Win-win. Well, we'll see what happens. I bought another crossbow of the same make and model. Bunjie 2, I guess. I don't know. No, I wouldn't go so far as to name it, but I do have the parts to replace any part on my crossbow if need be. And someone referred to it on one of these live streams as an organ donor, but I have it if I need it. What's going to put me out of business, though, is those little screws that like to strip out when you try to take them out. I don't have all the screws I need to put one of these things together. That's what would put me out of business, probably. We are getting close to the 1 hour mark. I'm going to have to wrap things up here shortly. An hour of me talking. I got to save my voice, or otherwise I will not make it through our crossbow season. I will not make it through the 37 days of awesome. Oh, and I wanted to show you that stuff. I had some other pictures I'm going to show you. Today, what a day today was. In the morning, sighted in, as like you saw all those pictures at the beginning of this live stream. Sighted in, got my confidence back, got that weight lifted off my chest. So I know now that Bunjie is ready for the upcoming season. Let that string creep a little bit, stretch a little bit, and we'll be ready to go once I've made those final adjustments out at 10, 20, and 30 yards. We will be ready to go and kill some deer. Ready to kill some deer on October 5th when the 37 Days of Awesome, the Pennsylvania crossbow season, starts. But today I went in to check the cameras, and look at that apple tree. That is the scene that we will be seeing here. Now, if I could zoom in on that a little bit, maybe I can. I don't know. Maybe we can. Maybe we can zoom in a little bit. I don't want to, well, I don't know if it's going to let me zoom in all that much, but no, I'm moving them all over the place here. I better stop playing with this stuff here, I think. But maybe I can zoom that in a little bit. But if you look up there, there's tons of apples on that tree, okay? They are, and it's a little bit sad. The apples are turning orange and yellow a little sooner than they normally would, but it's been a little dry in September here in northeastern Pennsylvania. That might have something to do with it, but the tree is giving up, I think. I think it's getting close to used up. There's a couple ideas I got. I'll make a last-ditch effort to save this thing if possible, and we will see where we go with that. But that's where we got for that, okay? But it does have lots of apples on that tree. Very happy, very excited about that. And you're looking at, that's a shot, 25-yard shot maximum, 30-yard shot maximum from the blind to take out a deer in that scenario. So we got tons of pictures on there. We've got lots of stuff going on under that tree. The other thing to show you, though, my mock scrape, and this is where Bunjie and I will be setting up for our buck hunt here, hopefully shooting a big old buck in the 37 Days of Awesome. But I wanted to adjust some of those branches when I got to looking at the trail cam footage. Some of those mock scrape branches were a little bit too high. Did a little adjustment today, and there they go. They're both at the same level, and I also moved them off at an angle a little bit better so that they are not, so the deer will be more broadside when it goes in there, a little bit quartering away when it goes in there to start working that scrape here in October, hopefully. I also raised, thank you for your suggestions, I also raised that up a little bit. That camera that was there that was bothering those deer, I've now got a cutty back up much higher, looking down on the scenario, so it's a little bit over my head. It's like 6-7 feet in the air, looking down. Hopefully that won't discourage those big bucks, and hopefully those big bucks won't be nervous when they come in there. They won't see that camera or hear that camera kicking in and get all nervous about that. So that's what I did that this afternoon. Checked those cameras, went out there, had a good time. And so I'm actually worn out. I'm going to go to bed here after this thing. I will wrap up. I got a couple little notes here to tend to. And then after that, I'm going to go take care of business here and get ready for bed. So I really do appreciate all you guys getting on here. Chrissy Nikoski, hello from Washington. Hello to you out there. Smitty B83Z, here in Arkansas, a gunshot is an average of about 40 yards, crossbow, 25 max. You and I aren't that far off. I grew up hunting with a Model 94 Winchester chambered in 30-30, and it was that's probably killed more deer than any other gun on the planet. Those guns have, and because there's a million of them, there's millions of those guns out there. But that's what I hunted with, and I don't think I shot maybe 80 yards, maybe 60 yards. Probably the farthest I ever shot a deer with that rifle. And it's you just, it's not meant for stuff other than that, right? And yeah, and 25 max, I'd be totally satisfied if I went the rest of my hunting career and never shot a deer past 25 yards. I would really feel like I accomplished something. You know what I mean? I'm totally okay with that. The 35 yard one was one. I can tell you what it was. It was a well-pied food plot. I'm sitting there. It was a doe. It was a 6-point had gone through. I didn't take a shot at the 6-point. It was a fawn doe fawn, making her way up the far end of the food plot, and she was eating, wasn't alert or anything like that. I had a chance to actually use the rangefinder on the deer at 35 yards, and I just waited until I felt comfortable, and I took the shot at 35 yards and complete pass through, found her. It was a great hunt, but I just don't like doing that. I don't. That's a little bit farther than I'd really want to shoot anything like that. Jason Robinson, we will see you later. Brent Young, man, just got on here. Well, I was glad that you made it here at the end. You might want to go back and play it. It was a pretty good live stream, I think. I think we covered some pretty good topics on here. We had some great feedback here, and we had some great stuff on here, and I think, and just a lot more activity than what I was expecting here. So I'm way behind on this stuff, and I hate to go without looking at the rest of the Bill Russell, never trust an archer missing fingers. That's a good one. Chrissy Nikoski, have you or anyone have through shot on a target with a broadhead? With the broadheads on, my broadheads, in my experience, don't open up, and they do not pass through real well. If they do stick out the far end of the target, I unscrew them and pull the arrow out without the broadhead so it doesn't damage the target any further. That's what I do, and I've done that before. I do have some older shot-up targets where they will do that, but they don't pass through. I have an older, slower crossbow. It's not going to pass through any of my targets. You guys with these fast ones, these 400 feet per second crossbows, you probably can't even buy a target to shoot a broadhead at because you're probably going to blow through everything or not be able to get it out. That's one or the other. It's a problem. I mean, crossbows, target technology has not caught up with crossbow speed technology, that's for sure. Chrissy Nikoski, did Bunjie break? Nope. I was worried about that. I was worried. Bunjie is okay, but thank you for your concern. So we made it through. Robert Peck, let me know the screw size. I may have access to them. I need size and length. I will try and figure that out. I had to get one of them out of there to tell you the length of it. I'm not even at the point where I want to take the crossbow apart or anything like that. But every time I have gone to tighten up the little Allen wrench with the Allen wrench, the little tiny screws here and there, every once in a while I'll start to turn them and I can feel them. They're making them out of like this soft metal that just wants to give, you know. If you don't have exactly the right fit, it's a little bit of a problem. So Robert Peck, that's what I was referring to. Hopefully I don't really get in a situation where I need to start taking those things apart. If I do, that's where I'm going to send it to Excalibur and tell them to fix it. Right? Send it up there. Fix this thing up for me. See what they do. I don't know. Maybe they won't. I don't know. So we shall see. Everyone have a great week. We are at a great part here. I hope that I have covered all of the comments. And I got to tell you folks, and I tell you this every week, but you know, part of me was like, oh, I don't have anything to talk about this week, so maybe I won't do a live stream. But then I thought, no, you know, we had that. I went out there and I did this stuff sighting in the yard, and I want to give everybody an update on that because I do get people asking me how I made out with this. And I went out and I'm like, let's do a live stream about that. And then I went up and checked the cameras. And I'm like, oh, I'll put some of that stuff on here too and show you all that stuff. So I hope that you got something out of this. I really think this was a great live stream. I really had a good time with this. So thank you very much. So here we go. Mark, good night to you. Good night to all of you folks who joined us on here, all you friends of Bunjie. I count you all as friends of Bunjie. We are over 14,000 subscribers. Can you believe that? Right now, oh, doesn't want to load it. Maybe it'll load it. Nope, doesn't want to load it. Huh. I did have that loaded. Well, so much for that. The number of subscribers, I can put that on the screen sometimes. Worked last week, doesn't work this week. Anyway, over 14,000 subscribers. You friends of Bunjie, have a wonderful evening. Have a great week. Until next time, boom. There it is. Have a great night. Thank you very much.